Welcome back to the Tailosive Podcast, everybody. Quite frankly, it's the best podcast in tech you have ever seen, and I will make it the best. Now that I've done all the impressions, my obligated quota for the week, welcome back. Today, it is just your lovely and favorite and definitely not long-winded host, Randy, accompanied by his also not long-winded and whatever else I just said, host, Mike. How are you doing?
Can't get rid of me. You can't lose me. Unfortunately,
Nope.
We don't have Drew this week. He had some stuff come up that he had to deal with. So we are continuing the show with Adam. Totally fine.
He died.
Well, that's one way to spoil the surprise.
Can you imagine that's how somebody finds out, through a podcast like, hey, breaking news, I got a Tailosive Tech podcast exclusive. The Tailosive guy himself, he died.
I think they did that actually on Rooster Teeth when they announced Monty Ohm, their animator's death due to an incident at the, I guess like one of those, not emergency rooms, but like one of those, pretty much like a routine checkup. And he had an allergic reaction and died. And they had, for some reason, they decided to announce on the podcast instead of in a post or something else. But yeah, Drew is dead, quote unquote.
Here's our clickbait thumbnail to emphasize that Drew is dead. Grab this part, Mike. Or no. Sorry, this one. There you go.
Audio listeners are having a fantastic time. But
Hi, audio listeners. We see you. See what I did there?
I feel like they're not looking around very nervously.
We should just address the other elephant in the room. Besides the ginger one not being here, I am talking about the fact that so far I think I'm on track. I don't remember the others, but I remember mine. I said no tech was going to come out this week, and unfortunately, I was correct. So we don't really have tech news to update, but I figured this would be as the best time as ever. Since Drew has a, somewhat sizable, successful YouTube channel of his own that he can do this on his own, I guess I can use this time to use the other two clowns that don't have said successful YouTube channels, and we can address it here. I figured this week we could do our own State of the Union on tech.
You just call yourself a clown in that statement.
That's right. Hey, that's my joke.
You lied to me at the beginning of this podcast. Then, it'd be nice to. I don't know. We could either do a checkup on state of tech in regards to either what we got or just the industry itself, or things that maybe we're looking forward to. I know that we've been, like Randy said, tech news has been a little bit dry unless you're really following leaks in which. Oh my goodness, so exciting that there is a 15% reduction on the bezels for the iPad 11-inch, reportedly. But who knows if that's even a thing or not. And even if it is it really that exciting? I'm not too sure. I'm pretty happy with mine.
If 15% smaller bezels is the highlight of talking about the next iPad Pro, I have bad news for all you guys excited about the next iPad, because it's not the wowzers we were, used to getting. I mean, as we've been saying now, I think for quite a few episodes, that everything is incremental updates. So I never thought I'd see the day where iPad feels like it's just slowed down. But alas, here we are. I mean, look, on the tech inside, you can even say that even that's kind of slowing down, because when you talk about MacBook Air M3 and how people shouldn't really be buying that one, me being one of the advocates to say don't buy it, not only is the aesthetics of things right now just kind of slowing down, but so is the guts of the machine running it. It's all status quo. If it's all working, let's not radicalize something, break it, and then just for the sake of reinvigorating something that's obviously going to have some backlash on it. Whereas like the height of it all really is behind the newest product of Apple Vision Pro. And we talked about it last week to a certain degree, but even like Apple scrapping, shelving their unannounced Project Titan, the Apple car, and allocating all those people's resources towards AI and things like that. It goes to show that like they're really more focused not on what's already out, but all things that are yet to be out. And I don't find joy talking about 15% smaller bezels. That was a long-winded way of saying I don't really care about talking about that. And when I say state of tech, let's talk about the state of tech. Let's do our state of the union of it. I am specifically referring to like where Apple is standing today, as is Google and Microsoft and all, but obviously I'm more interested in Apple. But more like what's their trajectory going forward? It was easy to say like 5-10 years ago that you'd be like, oh yeah, you know, they're gonna radicalize iPhone to the point that it's the main device, and they'll went 5 years ago when rumors were, I think it was 5 years ago. I feel like it was 5 years ago. The rumors were about the Apple Silicon chips and stuff like that, and how that was gonna, you know, just bring Macs to the forefront of efficiencies. Now it's not as easy to speculate, because when you talk about things such as, you know, AI that used to be associated or allocated for Project Titan, now it's like you're like, where are you going to put this all at? And I'm not saying like, oh, it's going to be Siri. Like, how are those things going to be utilized? What's its core function? The phone's core function was connectivity, and then it's somehow slowly, well, not somehow, we saw it happen, you know, over time, but it became a camera. Like, that's the most emphasized part, is a camera. Mm-hmm. iPad is about productivity and for the artist, and especially the more digital artists. Mac is a little bit of everything, and just one of the better computing devices that's out there for creatives. And then we're like, now it gets foggy. You're like, Apple Watch. Oh, that's fitness. Well, now there's a rumored Apple Ring that may come, and I can see that.
Have we weighed in on the Apple Ring yet?
No, I want to talk about that because I have some questions for you too. But before I do, my finalized thoughts, then when you get to even more and more abstract, like the Apple Vision Pro, it's like, it's so early of a product. Like, you don't know what lane it's supposed to carve itself in. It's not supposed to replace any of these other devices. It's supposed to be the next big thing. But it could be the next big thing like iPhone, or it could be something more passive like Apple Watch, or it could be a little bit more of a somewhat flop like iPad. Mm-hmm. You know, like, you don't really know. But with that being said, Apple Ring. Mike, would you wear an Apple Ring? Would that be your dedicated wedding band?
So I do have... Do I even have them here? Oh, yeah, I do.
You have an Aura?
So I've got them right here. No. So, of course, I'm married, so I typically wear a ring on my fingers. But when I go out to a fancy dinner...
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I've got some other rings that I wear just to look a little bit more fancy. And specifically,
okay, Jack Sparrow,
they're not that expensive, and if I lost them, I'd be slightly exotic. Annoyed. But I don't know, they make me feel a little bit premium. I don't wear them all the time, and specifically because I don't want to start scratching things, because I'm getting into my 30s, Randy, and I'm starting to bump into things. I'm starting to stumble under myself or over myself. And
it's just the start.
Yeah, accidentally scratching things with rings is becoming more and more of a probability for me these days. So, wearing anything more than my smooth wedding ring on my left hand usually means disaster for any object that is like glass or easily scratched, like whether it's a cloth or leather. Well, I guess not cloth, but like a leather or something like that. So I typically would say no, but I do like wearing my Apple Watch. It is nice looking at the time. But the annoying part about it is that because it only lasts for less than a day, I'm not even using it. I guess it's sometimes tracking some things. But otherwise, it barely lasts a day, even when its display is on not always on. Well, either always on or off, unless
Always off.
Raised to wake.
That's when the battery's dead.
Yeah, right. I think that's the annoying thing for me with my watch. And if I could avoid that with something that could still track my health in some way, like a ring, I would be a little bit more, I guess, warm to it. But the other side of my brain thinks, are we seeing a cost, or not a cost, but a downgrade in battery life in the ring? Along with that, what are the worries for it if I want to take a shower with it? Or if I'm starting to sweat profusely, or go swimming with it, or if I'm climbing with it. I don't climb much, but if I'm going for a hike and I scratch it on some rocks, is that going to be a concern and all that? Because my wedding ring has seen some scratches and all that. No dents, no nicks or gouges or anything like that. But I wouldn't want that to happen to an Apple ring, or at least a piece of tech that can easily be I guess, damaged. So I think that's where my dilemma is on whether I would adopt if Apple made an Apple ring or not. But if it came at a longer battery usage because it doesn't have to power a display, that sounds very promising. And I guess I could always take the ring off when I'm, I guess, climbing, if I'm ever climbing, or at least doing something with my hands that would include some rough activity, whether I'm digging in dirt that might clog up something in there. And also, how does it charge? I guess the contacts would be maybe on the inside of the ring. I don't know. My brain goes everywhere. What do you think, Randy?
I think the idea is cool. I've always been a watch wearer long before a smartwatch. So having this felt more appropriate upgrading when I did go Apple Watch. And then I bought a wooden, like all but the glass part to protect the timepiece. All of it was wood. And then the mechanics underneath it are not wood, but for everything else is built through wood. And that was the last non-smartwatch I bought, and that was in 2018. But I like watches. I would even go as far as at one point call myself a watch collector, not including smartwatches like an Apple Watch. That's not. I guess you could collect it. People collect stamps, so I guess you can collect an Apple Watch. But I'm not interested in an Apple Watch. I like the elegance of certain, aesthetics and pieces. I'm not a Rolex kind of guy, even if I had the type of money to do it. I like clean products, and there was a lot of watches I used to wear that were just kind of clean. Mm-hmm. So, I don't see myself ever not having a watch somewhat, even if it's just for dress up, like your cosmetic rings there for the right hand. You just do it for accessorizing. That's what the watch is for. Apple Watch was promoted to be like the most personal device because you can customize it the most and it's tailored to you. And it's supposed to be a bit of a fashion piece. But now Apple Watch is just like borderline expected. You want a watch? Don't buy a regular watch. Just get an Apple Watch. That's what they all say. And like I don't mind it. And I know I haven't talked about the ring yet, but that's on purpose. You've asked me episodes ago. You said, I noticed that you're wearing your watch again. And at the very end of the episode, you're like, we should talk about that next time. And next time never came. Well, we'll make next time now about why I brought the watch back. Okay. I brought the watch back because at the end of the day, I'm a watch wearer. And I like having, well, I guess what, maybe because I'm older, and so I didn't grow up on smartphones. I'm not as glued to my phone as I could be. I am glued to my phone. Don't get me wrong. I have a problem, as probably everyone else listening to this.
Right there with you.
But I do my best to not enable those behaviors of picking up the phone. And a lot of times, like the watch face that I use is always my digital cluster here of time, weather, what time the sun sets, my calendar, and battery. and I have two different weather widgets happening that will tell me temperature, and I guess I technically have three if we count sunset, because I got weather, temperature, and when sunset, sunrise.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when I live in a bipolar state like Colorado, I really need to know about the weather now. So I definitely found it more important to have like accessibility to have that on there. And I used to have widgets on my lock screen on my phone, but not all my phone lock screen faces have the same instrument cluster. Some of them are devoid of them because I don't want it to obstruct the photo of like my son. So, and right now that's the wallpaper I'm rocking is a photo of my wife and kids. So, I don't want it to be distracting with all that information. So I keep it on my watch, and I just find myself more or less using a watch. I don't wear the watch all day, but I never did, even when I had a regular watch. I wear it for things like this because my phone is being used as the camera. I wear it for every time I go out because Apple Pay is way more convenient. If I'm going through a drive-thru and I just stick my arm out, boop, done. I wear it when I dress up for anything that's not a podcast. So if I have to go talk to people, I typically like to have a watch on me as well. And I use the watch for the same reason I would use the phone if I'm checking something like a notification, because I won't probably, if I'm with a group of people, I probably won't be responding to the notification, but I will still be notified. Just in case there's that 1 in 10 where it is important and I need to get to it, then I can look at it, it's like, excuse me, I need to take this real quick. Stuff like that. I know it's not the most tech minimal thing, but I use it. I find value in it. And minimalism isn't about just avoiding yourself of all things, just to bring it back into your life. If you find value in the things that you use, then you're being intentional with it. I'm very intentional with the watch. Okay, that's why I brought the watch back. Now let's talk about the ring. I don't know if I would wear a ring the same way because today we didn't coordinate what we were going to talk about today because there's no news. Had I known, I would have put my wedding ring on, but I am not wearing it today.
Oh my gosh. There's trouble in the nest.
No, not at all. Actually, you were hitting on it about with your situation. I bump into a lot of things with the ring, and I have a black tungsten ring that's like hammer forged with black sapphire diamonds around it. And I unfortunately, because I do certain things with my hands, I bump into things and I chip like a sapphire. I'm like, no, and then same thing. Like I'm scratching it, and never it's the ring. The ring's like, besides me losing, I've lost a few black sapphire diamonds. Unfortunately, they're not diamonds; they're gems. But the ring itself, the actual structure of the ring, is still just as it's fine. It's not harmed in any way, but everything that it hits gets scratched or something. So I'm like, ugh. I am very reckless when I'm home, and I'm more alert when I'm outside. So when I go outside, I wear the ring because I'm more just reserved. Home, I'm just la la la. And even with my phone, I'm wearing a case on my phone right now, and I normally don't when I'm home because last week, the moment we said cut and we turned off the cameras and we left, I took my phone off this exact tripod and it fell, hit my cheap plywood desk, and still bent my aluminum iPhone 15. So now there's an impurity. I was like, oh. So now I'm wearing a case. I'm just more reckless around the house. And that's the reason why most of my scratches I get on my watch, because it's not the sapphire crystal or the sapphire glass. All of them happen because of me being around the house, just doing whatever, and I'm bumping into things. Mm. So I don't know if I would wear a ring the same way because most of the time, if not all the time, I am ringless when I'm home. I'm Apple Watchless when I'm home, and I'm caseless with my phone when I'm home. And I have to decide, would a Apple ring be... At what point is there too much overlap between the watch and the ring about the information that's being recorded? Because it's supposed to help you track sleep or I don't wear my ring when I sleep. I don't wear anything when I sleep.
Exclusive, straight from.
I told you I was gonna give you some exclusives. Take that, Drew. But I don't know, man. I can see myself. I'm in two camps. I hesitate because in one I'd be like, heck yeah, I would get an Apple ring, and that could even be my wedding band ring. Yeah, put it on there, and I feel cool. But that's like
Apple.
yeah, my first love. But then my right hand's always naked. Doesn't really have the same stuff. Every now and then I put something on there. I have some accessorizing rings like you do. Every now and then I'll put something on the right hand. So, you know, it's just a matter of like, I didn't buy an Aura ring. I'm not interested. So why would I be interested in an Apple ring? Because of a ecosystem? I don't know. So one side of me goes, yeah, let's do it. The other side of me goes, I'm not going to wear it. Same reason why I don't have the Apple Vision Pro. I wouldn't be wearing that thing all the time. There's no point.
Right. I see the ring more as a alternative if you don't want a watch on your wrist, but you want some way to track health activity, whether it's sleep, heart rate, whatever else, workouts and all that. It'd be nice. But I guess if you're weightlifting, then you're having to lift some type of bar with a whole bunch of weights on it. It's funny because I don't work out too much. So anyways, even so, you're having to grab a bar and you're wearing rings and you might be, who cares if you're scratching the bar? The bar is most likely scratching your ring if it's a touch sensitive surface or anything like, or just glass in general. So I would prefer more of like a metal chassis. Whether it's, I don't know, aluminum or titanium. It's a small amount of surface right there. Just make it titanium. Actually, that's probably a good idea, in my opinion. But that's a lot of titanium to make and forge. I don't even know if... you probably could. Anyways, there's a lot of... We're humans. We use our hands a bunch for different things. I think that's where my trepidation lies with that product if I were considering it, because the watch is great and all, but it dies every day for me. I don't really use it too much. Like you, I mean, I don't have widgets really. I just have the infographic watch face that has the time on the top right, the weather in the middle, and then the rings, the compass, and I guess the decibels, what I put there on the bottom right, so that way I know if it's too loud an area, or I guess what direction I'm facing with the compass. But with the ring, you wouldn't get that potentially if it doesn't have a user interface, in which I wouldn't want to have a user interface because I'd actually want something about the same size as my rose gold ring or wedding ring. Something that isn't bulky and big and gets in the way, something that's a little bit more streamlined, like what Apple's products used to be. As it didn't used to be very industrial modern. It was very sleek, like an arrow look for it, a more efficient design language with it. Efficient being it looks smooth and inlaid with whatever surface that it's resting on. So something like that, I'm interested in it because I'd like an alternative to the watch. And with my dissatisfaction with my Apple Watch, I'm not going to abandon it because it's tech that I bought and I want to utilize it as much as I can. I'm not just going to set it aside because I don't feel like we're in... Well,
how long have you had that watch?
Oh, goodness. That's a really good question. I got it at the...
What series is it?
Series 5. I got it at the same time as the iPhone 11.
Okay.
So that would be 2019? 2020. I think I got it in 2020. So, yeah, it was a little bit after the pandemic started. I decided to get it because I wanted to be a little bit more active, which was a little bit counterintuitive to what was going on, which was sheltering in place. But yeah.
You were active in place.
You can be.
We're being active right now. My heart rate is going up.
And then I talk about Rivian, and then your blood pressure and everything just shoots up. But
everything shoots up.
Anyways, I do think that if Apple, and perhaps Apple is working on one, if they were to introduce this product line, it would be a nice new it'd be on the level, in my opinion, that the iPod, was it the Nano or the Mini? The one that didn't have the shuffle, I think is what it was. That didn't have the user interface.
Yeah,
I would like
shuffle.
that, where it's tech that it's a true accessory. Like you can't.
I'm so old. That was my first product.
Wow.
The iPod Shuffle.
I think mine was the
stick.
Yeah, mine was the iPod, not Touch. I think it was the Nano. But yeah, it seems a little archaic to want that at this point, and maybe it's a little bit of my nostalgia kicking in of tech from long ago being 20 years ago. But don't remind me about
Look
that
at all that's changed in 20 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Talking about retrospective and state of Apple. But to bring some of that back with a device that you can't really interact with besides looking at your phone, in which we use our phone for everything, it seems like we're really still grounded in the phone right now. Why not go all in while we're still here with an accessory that we can only access through the iPhone, or even make an accessory to the Vision Pro? So then that way you can look at whatever stats that you want to on either of those devices, or I guess maybe the Mac as well. But looking at it on like a desktop seems a little bit, maybe not archaic, but a little bit too analog.
Yeah.
You would want something a little bit more digital feeling.
Yeah, I'm sure there'd be a dedicated app that will eventually come around with iOS 18 that will help you look at your health data. I mean, it might be in the health app itself, but there would be a dedicated section that the Ring is tracking, because everybody's talking about how the Oura Ring tracks your sleep, and that's the one thing that people charge their watches at night, so they don't wear it at night, so it doesn't track your sleep unless you don't sleep at night. But not that you were leading into this, but it did make me think about like accessibility, about how people can just like look at their information. Have you seen, heard, or are you aware of the rumor that your Apple ID account is going to go away? It's going to be changed into something else. It's going to be like your all Apple account. So it's not Apple ID anymore. It's like the little Apple logo account. And so then you sign into that, much like if you go on to your iCloud.com on the browser, you could pull everything that you would have saved in your iCloud on your phone, on your iPad, computer, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Apple ID, typically you log onto that one because it does have its own domain. You go on your Apple ID when you need to pull up things in regards to, say, the Apple credit card or your mailing address, something I had to update when I moved. It has all your subscriptions. It has, it's linked to your actual account. That's the portal to your all things Apple. And as Apple begins to go further and further west and east, north and south, and broaden their ecosystem, the idea of having a gateway into your everything through one account,
Mm-hmm.
In some senses, it's going to be ease of convenience for you to just go in, especially when biometrics is your authentication device. Another way, it's also scary because you can get into one thing and there's your everything. But we're not talking about security today. The idea of you just going onto your Apple account, that's where everything gets logged. That's your health tracking, if you so be it to be. I see Apple account merging your iCloud and your Apple ID profiles into one. It's your everything.
Mm-hmm.
And as such, not only would you have yourself, your backups from whatever on iCloud, whichever applications, but then you also have stuff like your health data. If you're going to have an Apple Ring that tracks your sleep or your heart rate or your whatever, then all that stuff gets automatically logged there. And it's all about, I know Apple's intent is all about making it as seamless and as passive as possible that you don't have to intervene. Imagine it logging all these records for you, and much like the health app, you could get a notification saying, hey, there's been a change in your activity. You should probably, send this to your doctor or go talk to your doctor. Mm-hmm. There's a lot that could be there that it could also help mainstream your your whole life. Because at the end of the day, that's what Apple's going to try to do, and in a way, that's what they're already doing through the portals of your iPhone. Is they are your lifeline to literally everything. And when you drink the Kool-Aid as Drew and I have, and now you have a bank account and a credit card, and you really pay everything through all that. I mean, once finances gets involved, like that's pretty committed. It's not the end all be all, but it is a level of commitment that, imagine, like, I can see what Apple wants to do. Like, big picture. If they had their car paired to your smart home, paired to your watch, your health, everything is just intertwined together, and this is the Apple ecosystem. Your finances, your health, your commuting, your living with the smart home application. YouTube listeners, viewers, and anybody else really, but I've only seen these comments on YouTube. I had put out a post on X, explaining in further detail of a response to a comment last week, I think it was last week, if not 2 weeks ago, about the music change. I didn't know it would be such a hot topic for you guys to care about our theme songs like that. I appreciate the passion, but guys, go look at my post. I'll try to sum it up as eloquently here as possible, but the music changed because tech has changed, and we every now and then we give the podcast a facelift, and we change the podcast as well. This is the third iteration of the music I've written. So I ask all you guys listening or watching, tell me if it really does bother you that much. I'm not changing it, just so you know. I'm not going to change it. I just more or less personal surveying of the area. Does the new music is it too new for you? Are you so used to that one sound, that soundbite that you heard for a few years that you associate that sound with the podcast, and this is just too drastic? This is version 3. Version 1, the last one you heard leading up to this year, that wasn't the first one either. We changed the music based off of. Let me rephrase. I'm the creator of the music, so it's my decision. I changed the music based off of the vibe. And right now, tech feels like it's more matured, it's evolved, it's more elegant, it's more refined, and it's not as in your face as we were talking about, passive products and stuff like that. And that's what Apple wants to do. It's just more embedded in all everyday life. I wanted the music to reflect that. So I didn't put the music boom, boom, boom in your face like that. I dialed it back because tech feels like it's been dialed back, not in a bad way, but in an elegant way. So if you guys don't really, if that bothers you guys, by all means, I mean, I respect your feedback. I'm not changing it because there's a lot that goes into the work of that. I'm not going to change it, but I just want you to understand from my point of view why I did change it to what it sounds like today. And if Apple does something crazy with Apple Vision Pro, Apple Ring, Apple Account, Apple Car, if it's back to being like in your face with some stuff, then, and not maybe next year, if not the year afterwards, the music will reflect and it's going to be back in your face again. I'm following the beat of Apple, man. So if you don't like the music, take it up with Apple, is what I'm saying. All right, that was it.
Though I heard if you pester him enough in the next rebrand, there might be some influences there of past songs or past themes. But that's only if you really want Randy to bring back some of the old intro sounds. And that's also if Apple gets a little bit more exciting, I think, according to Mr. Vance.
If you really want that high energy sound, go check out Tailosive Podcast. The sound's there. I took the energy of like punching you in the face and I put that in EV because that's what EVs are doing right now. They're punching you in the face and in the wallet.
He plugged in the power wall that is Tailosive Tech and plugged it into the EV, which is the EV podcast. And now all of that energy is in there. At least with this ring, to kind of close out our discussion a bit, it would be cool. I never really looked at Aura's website before, it is very much, I think it's on the same lines of what you love about Vision Pro and its user interface. It's that frosted glass look and all that with the menus and the selections and all that. It's very, very modern web page, very well built. And they got a bunch of different colors / looks to the rings. And like I said before,
it's a good looking website.
Titanium's not a bad material to use, and that's what they use. So the engineering brain right there. They say they also have a 7 days of battery, which is pretty good, especially if you're wanting to track things. I wonder what that means for if you're working out or doing a bunch of hikes or just highly active. If that tracking, I guess processing, I guess maybe not a lot of the processing is on the ring, and maybe it feeds that data to the phone.
To the phone. I'm sure there's a dedicated app for this thing.
Yeah, well, something has to be processing that information that it's receiving. So all those ones and zeros has to be going somewhere. And whether it's processing it on the device or if the device is just shooting it at the phone and the phone does it all. Pretty sure that's the point or the goal for it, because it doesn't look like a super thick ring. It would be nice to check it out. I haven't really priced one out to get it. Oh, okay. Well, it starts at $300. So
whoa,
that's not terrible. And it's got really weird bumps on the inside that look like would compress your finger a little bit weirdly. And also I like to fidget with my ring a bit, and you have to if you have to have it in a certain orientation, that might be an interesting situation going on. But I guess that kind of makes sense, right? With the Apple Watch, it's got an extruding piece of it on the bottom that makes contact with the top of your wrist, or I guess the bottom of your wrist if you wear your Apple Watch the other way. And this is pretty much doing the same thing, but with your fingers. It's trying to not dig into your
skin. You need a subscription with this. You can't just buy the ring. You're going to pay for the ring and then $6 a month afterward to use their platform.
I wonder if Apple would emulate that as well, where they'd also have you sign up for an Apple subscription, an Apple Ring subscription, and all that.
Probably. Dang. That turns me off, man. I'd probably stick with the Apple Watch. I don't need a subscription with that. Maybe they'll have you sign up for, well, the subscription would be what? Fitness Plus?
Yeah, maybe you're forced to use Fitness Plus with it. And
something like that.
If you...
But Fitness Plus is more than $6 a month, though.
Yeah.
Dang.
Maybe, I don't know, it could be a cheap way to get into Fitness Plus, or maybe they can bring it back on. I don't know. It's things like this that definitely drive the curiosity for if Apple would adopt this type of tech, or if they just pass it off, say, nah, we're pretty confident on the Apple Watch for right now. Here's a new chassis upgrade. Here's the squared off Apple Watch that you guys were wanting. Here you go. Have fun. Versus here's a whole new product line that we have to support and we have to get suppliers for. And then imagine trying to help me, Apple support. My ring isn't charging, or it isn't doing this or that. And them just looking at the ring, be like, we can get you a new one. And they just have a whole bin of rings that they reach their arm into, fumble around a little bit. This one looks good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
if you don't know your ring size, you go to Best Buy, it says, and Best Buy has a partnership or whatever with them about doing like fittings.
That would be one way to get people more into Apple stores, is having you have to check your because I also think for the Vision Pro, you didn't have to go into a store to get your fitting checked. You just did the...
It was all scanned.
Yeah.
You know, they did Face ID on me.
So I guess you could probably do the same thing. You just scan whichever finger... I guess scan your whole hand. And then from there, select what finger you want to choose. Or maybe just scan the one finger that you want the ring on. And then the one ring. Haha. There you go. Writes itself. But...
It does.
yeah, I guess maybe you wouldn't have to, and or you could get it maybe not resized, but uh, that'd be tough because at least I got my wedding ring at Shaneco, in which what's nice about Shaneco, this is a wonderful tip for y'all who are planning to get married someday. Shaneco, they might be expensive. You pay a little bit more than most ring shops or jewelry shops, but for the whole life of the jewelry, whether it's a ring or a necklace, if anything happens to it, whether you lose diamonds or anything else, we're not sponsored by Shenko, by the way, but if you lose anything or if it gets nicked or your ring's a little bit too small or too large, they can resize it for you for free, which is really cool. And so why I bring that up is I wonder if that would be a thing with Apple, where if you got like Apple Care with your ring, maybe that would unlock unlimited resizing if you want. And the resizing basically is they take your ring and then give you another one. Because how do you resize a ring that has a whole bunch of computers in it? It sounds ridiculous. So, of course, it makes more sense to just give you a new ring. But at least with like Apple Care Plus or anything like that, you'd be able to exchange it whenever, maybe. Or maybe you get 5 exchanges, where if you're not on Apple Care, you just get one exchange option in terms of like a one-time exchange, and then that's it. I don't know. It feels like there is a decent market for growth for an Apple ring to exist.
Well, as long as it's not the price that I just priced out, my 350 turned into 501.09 really quickly. So
I'm assuming you chose the Horizon. So they have a Heritage and Horizon version for the style.
I did the one that it was promoting. So I purposely didn't really, put too much thought into it. I was like, I want a black one, and blah, blah, blah. I have to pay for shipping. Mm-hmm. And it just got really expensive really quick. I'm not paying no $500 for a ring and a subscription afterwards for that. Absolutely not. But so if Apple wants my business, find a way to incorporate it in they already get paid monthly payments from me through iCloud anyway. So do something with that, Apple. I don't know.
Yeah, in my quest to avoid subscriptions, I wouldn't want to get an Apple Ring if you had to subscribe to Apple Fitness or the Apple Ring Plus program or whatever. Right. It would be a turnoff for me. So I'd probably just stick with my Apple Watch, and then once it died, get a new Apple Watch, or at least a refurbished one or something else. But yeah. My quest for killing subscriptions still continues. I'm trying to reduce everything else. And
talking about state of tech with Apple, I'm pretty sure their future plans is to move as much things to subscription as possible.
Right.
You got your upgrade program anyway. You have iCloud Plus, and they got all those other pluses.
Which
I want to kill as many subscriptions.
Account. Huh? Which are minuses to your bank account.
Yeah, those pluses are, for every plus there's a minus. And I think the writing's on the wall that it's not a if, it's a when. Things become more of a subscription base. And is it not a subscription base to have Final Cut and Logic on the iPad right now? Like, those are subscriptions. Those are not one and done. So, I mean, yeah, the writing's there. It's just a matter of time. I'll hold out for as long as I can, but the writing is there that everything's going to become a subscription in some way, shape, or form. Hence why I think that's why if the rumor is true that they'll make an Apple account instead of Apple ID, like that account manages everything. Do you trust a singular entity, an organization, a business with all that info on you? I don't trust Google. I don't trust Meta. I don't trust Apple. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't really have much say over it. Like, I can't control any of it, but I don't trust any of them.
No. It's as much as you give is what I've pretty much settled on. How much information are you willing to put out there? Whether it's in that account portal or if it's just on social media in general. Whether you're uploading it onto your story on Instagram, onto a post on X, or anything else. Once you put it out there, it's the internet. It kind of lives there forever, even if you try deleting it. It'll still show up no matter what you do. So you're kind of stuck with whatever you put out there. And which, of course, for payment stuff, there's rules for that. And unfortunately, there are data leaks and all that you have to avoid. And
I mean, all our social security numbers have already been compromised. If you're born, before the year 2000, was it 5 or 6? Like you've already been compromised. It's already out there. There's been data breach after data breach, and it's out there because the credit bureau itself got leaked.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it got breached. So it's already out there. It's an interesting, a very American thing. So to any of our non-Americans here, I don't know if this is foreign for you, but it's not foreign to us. America is a very fragmented ecosystem when it comes to our finances, our insurance, our payment plans, our social medias. Like, everything is extremely juxtaposition to China with what was it? WeChat?
Mm-hmm.
Thinks WeChat. It's the all in one app. Kind of like what Elon wants to do with X, make it the everything app. That's not a very American thing. We don't put. I'll give you an example. I'll tell you my own example, and you tell me how much of this vibes with you, Mike. But my savings account, like my actual primary savings account, is not tied to my banking account where I get my deposits from, which is not tied to my investment account, which I do very regularly, which is not tied to my any of my insurances, which theoretically could do all those things, because my insurance is through USAA, my investments through Fidelity, my banking is through Navy Federal, and my savings account's through Apple. It is about as fragmented as you can get. My mortgage is not even through any of those anymore. Like, I once upon a time, I think I took out a mortgage through Chase, and when I had an account with them, I was like, oh, cool, everything's done in house, and they just sell off your loan anyway, so it doesn't really matter. It is a very fragmented thing that my identity is in the hands of all these other companies. It's with T-Mobile, with you name it, my identity's there. It's fragmented. Does that make it a better business model? Well, not if they all get breached, right? Then it doesn't really matter. But then, likewise, if it was all in-house, say it was all Apple, and you just go onto your Apple account, and that had all those things: your insurance, your investments, your banking, your savings, your mortgage, your all that. Same thing I just said. Put that all right there. Does that make it more secure? No, not really. There's a single point of failure. So I know why the appeal is there about having everything done in-house. It's one less app you got to manage. It's one less whatever. But at the end of the day, well before smartphones and apps, our stuff is fragmented out there. Like, we don't have everything done in one centralized location. Shoot, my electric is different from my gas, which is different from my water, which is different from my internet, which is different you see what I'm saying? Like, it's all even just bills, not even things that like you're paying money off for, just bills. Mm-hmm. It's fragmented. I can see Apple trying to conquer that problem, if you want to call it a problem, but even if they do that with like PayPal, right? Like, that now that's your payment distributor right there. Even PayPal, like, I think PayPal got hacked, didn't it? Or Venmo, one of those guys had a data breach too.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the idea of a subscription-based model and all your life is put into it that's a scary, like, digital identity. Your bottleneck right there. Like, it can all get funneled in right there, and then Then what?
Right. Yeah. It's both. There's pros and cons to having it consolidated into one location versus multiple locations. There's security in it being dispersed, or like, take for example, hard drives with a whole bunch of precious family memories on them. Having just one and then it fails is probably not the best. It's good to have a backup copy of it just in case, in which I've got a few. And the same kind of goes with information, or at least like passwords and all that. If you use like a password manager, whether it's Apple's or a third-party one that you pay some amount of money per month or something like that, the risk that you have there is you've got, I don't know, 10 to 50 different passwords all behind one username and password that could get compromised at the end of the day if someone guesses your password right for that site, or it gets leaked somehow. So having all of your information in one location with like the Apple account or whatever, it would be a bummer. I don't remember the last time iCloud was ever compromised, and that's just not something that I track or follow up on too much.
I think 2013, 2014.
Okay.
There's a bunch of celebrities got hacked, and all their nudies got leaked.
So with I think we talked about on the podcast as well, like a couple months ago, they have quantum levels of encryption now. But applying that to, or I guess they're able to defend against quantum levels of hacking. I don't know. It's way out of my wheelhouse. But I will say is that increasing the security of pretty much where all that information is good, but the possibility is still there for it to get leaked. And so I think that
nothing is secure.
Yeah. I guess that's what I'm getting at.
When it's not actually, just period. I was gonna give a caveat, but no, like literally nothing is secure. That's the thing. That's the part that people just grow up accepting. I've heard Drew make that statement. You know, he's like, "Oh, well, that's the life I live in." You know, more or less. I'm paraphrasing that, but that's more or less the sentiment that like, there's no way around it. That's the life that grew up, and that's such a weird. I know he's not alone. Like, I don't mean to single him out because like so many people, I guarantee more than, if we were to poll it, more than half, I'd say closer to 75%, if not even more, 80% of our audience and our listeners would be in that camp of like, well, you know, that's what I grew up with. That's the life we live in. Like, a lot of those people, especially younger folk, like that post 9/11 brain, all they know is government, you know, scrutiny of surveillance and nothing's private, and that's just your norm. And as somebody who's not an elder millennial, but someone who remembers a life before all that, it's very sad and depressing because I'm like, you know, we let it be that way in a way because you chose convenience over freedom. That's how. I think there's history in that somehow in mankind when you trade your freedom for convenience. Mm-hmm. What did it cost you? Everything. But I think about like how people just accept it for what it is, that like, oh well, we know nothing is secure, and even though that is true, it doesn't mean you have to participate in it, you know. Like, and I know that's greater than outside of, you know, having your digital footprint somewhere, because the unfortunate reality is that you have to have somewhat of a digital footprint, even if it's just for paying bills or auto pay this, or like there has to be some level of digital footprint. And I know I'm just talking to the choir, preaching to the choir when it comes to like people who are listening to podcasts. Like, it shouldn't be one or the other. It's not all freedom or all convenience. We do not live in a black and white society, but we do live in a society. There's trade-offs for each, and picking and choosing what you choose to do or not do. Should be no much more different than if you choose to. It goes back to the old ad tracking thing, or the app tracking thing, or the services tracking thing. Like, you choose what you want to put out there or not. Every time I want to look something up, I use a private window, even though I know it's like not private in the sense that I don't have my IP associated to it, but I just don't want the cookies saved afterwards when I'm done searching for the thing that I'm looking at. I don't want to see relevant ads about the thing I'm looking up for. I just looked up a smart ring. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go on Instagram, which I'm sure I will, and see an ad for an Oura ring. I don't care. I did it strictly for this episode, and I don't want to get an ad for that. But that's what those tracking mechanisms will do, is just to sell. You're the commodity. So some people are like, you know what? No, that's worth it, because I'm not going to fall victim to the advertising. So you could put whatever you want in front of me if that means that thing over there is free. Mm-hmm. But nothing's free. It's just what you're willing to tolerate. And I don't want to see ads of things that I'm looking up, because sometimes I look up some weird stuff. I'll be like, how does one hack into a Tesla car if they wanted to override? Like, I'll look up stuff like that. I don't want that following me and then get some weird, try this course on Red Hat and learning how to, fish people and hack them. I'm like, I don't care about all that stuff. And that was more of now being more specific in back in my trait when I was doing cybersecurity things, like learning all that stuff. I don't want to, it's just for curiosity. But you start looking at some stuff that might put you on a list, some people might not, maybe not all the convenience. I do want some privacy, some freedom to all this, because if I'm just randomly looking, what happened to what's her name from the royal family who's been missing for X amount of time, you start looking at that, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this person's looking into it. Did JFK really get us at, now all of a sudden you're tagged. You know what I mean? Like, nah, I'm good. You can keep it. That's fine. But
yeah, there is some concern there, especially with how information is tracked. And it's just, no information is really private unless you abstain from the digital world. And even so, there is still some information on you out there. It's just how much is there and how much.
Which is why I'm trying really hard to keep my son off of all that by my own doing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to kickstart his giving up of freedom before he has a say in that. I'm not going to do it.
Sure.
And people are like, well, what's the harm? Nobody cares about you. I've had that said to me, like, they're not looking for you. They're looking for the other thing or whatever. And it's not, again, it's not that black or white. It's not about looking for me. It's one singular point. Well, you're a data guy. I know you'll understand this, Mike. It's not about you as the singularity of this one data point. It's what the conglomerate of all that, when you start to form your statistics on something, it's what the pattern shows overall that forms what will happen next. And even if it's something as harmless as just posting whatever, it doesn't matter what the post is. It's all that information curated, thus then feeds to an algorithm, thus then pushes out this content. And the threats that exist today aren't the same threats that will exist tomorrow. And we don't know this type of threats that will be there tomorrow. And I'm not going to set my, infant kid up for failure about threats that don't even exist yet, that will exist once you're out there online, because it's all digital cyber attacks and stuff now. Even in the best cyber attacks are the ones you're not even aware are happening. The best cyber attacks are the passive ones, the ones that lay dormant, the ones that are just watching you like a stalker. Y'all know that one, right? Anybody listening, having somebody watch you that you don't want to watch? Is that why your account is private? Is that why maybe even you've done it? You've followed somebody maybe you're not willing to let go yet. Like that feeling of just tracking something or someone. That's the best type of cyber attack, is the one that's just monitoring, not doing anything, just harvesting data off of you. Mm-hmm. That's creepy. That's uncomfortable. And Apple, bringing it back to Apple, not innocent. They had recordings of our voices talking to Siri for years, and it's there. It's out there. Even if it's with I forget the path to hell is paved with good intentions. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your intentions are, because once you open that box, that Pandora's box, you can't put it back in, even if there was hope that it would be something a little bit better. You don't know those things. You don't know those things. So not just cutting subscriptions, going back to earlier thing you were saying, but just in general, like I try to be as intentional about what I do and don't do with and without Apple in the online space, because it's like, no, this is weird. I already know there's enough voice of me that there's going to be a one-for-one replica if I ever choose to do that with some type of chat bot, whatever. So that's fine. Well, that part for me, I don't really care. My life is structured in a way that none of that's actually going to affect me, but I can't, I'm not a one-size-fit-all. A lot of people aren't a one-size-fit-all. You just gotta be mindful. Just gotta be careful. You just gotta be careful. Think.
Measure twice, cut once.
Jeez.
A statement that I always fall back on, whether I'm actually doing that type of, action, or if it's even just making a decision. It's very much think about it, then do it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
At least with a lot of things like the Ring as well, comes down to how much of your data are you willing to give? And with that, how many more subscriptions or how many things are you willing to integrate your life into the digital world to get back? I guess, is what you're getting back worth what you're putting in? Is something that I wrestle with a lot these days.
The thing about the Ring, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Because what value does that really bring you? Do you really care about your sleeping that much? For example, I say the sleeping because everyone talks about the sleeping. I don't. Like, I'm asleep. I don't want to think about the sleeping. That's going to help me not sleep. I already don't sleep. I have a kid, a baby. I already don't sleep. So I don't really need the Ring to tell me that. But just like the Apple Watch, I don't need to know about my heart rate or what. Like, all that stuff is secondary. I got an Apple Watch because, one, I wear watches in general, and two, I like the idea of just quick glances at notifications. Just little notifications. Well, as we wrap up here, Mike, let's talk about AI from the last episode. No, I'm joking. We'll have to do that another day.
We'll do that for another 2 hours.
Yeah, we're gonna call it here.
I guess that's a question that we should pose to the audience. One, are you interested in the Apple Ring? And what things would it have to do for you to be willing to shell out, let's just say starting price $300, and then if you're willing to pay for a subscription or not on it. And then two, how many subscriptions are you already paying for? And would you be willing to add another subscription to it? And whether you think all of that needs to be consolidated into one location, whether it's one credit card, one website that all runs through, or if you'd rather it be a little bit more decentralized.
Yeah.
Big thank you, by the way, to Yusith for his wonderful paragraph in the last episode. I got through a portion of it. Randy got through most of it, and he responded to it. And I
got through all of it.
I guess you did. So definitely, we watch what you guys comment, at least on the YouTube videos. If you want to tag us on social media, you know where to find us. It's in the description there. And I guess we'll catch you next week.
Hopefully with our fearless ginger leader here with us. And if not, Mike is gingered enough for being a brown hair guy. So that's close enough. We'll pretend.
Yeah, I've now grown the long locks, so we can obsess about that instead of ginger hair.
I'm gonna worship you. You're my new Jesus now. Look at that. Jared Leto over here.
Nope. All right, we're ending it. Bye.
You guys have a good week. We'll see y'all later. Goodbye.